Hey y'all, it's Sim here, back with another episode of the Monday Motion. And here I'm happy to announce I am with former amateur athlete and mother and full-time worker. She does it all. Sam Hartwell. Sammy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to finally get on.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. I know you a lot of people don't know you were in the background of me starting this process of podcasting and helping me out on the editing side of things. So first and foremost, I appreciate you with that. And yeah, so I think that it'd be appropriate to talk about a journey that people may or may not know that you have been on the athletic side of things. You were, like I mentioned, a former competitive lifter, and you were on stage. And am I getting it correctly? It was after you were pregnant and had your daughter.
Yes, so I had done two competitions prior, but really I think my biggest journey in the fitness world is jumping on stage as a bikini competitor for the NPC. And I stepped on stage 1 year postpartum after I had my daughter while
Wow.
working full time and raising my daughter at home, which has been absolutely incredible.
hmm
Mhm.
Yeah, wow, that's really, that's impressive to say the least. I know a lot of women in sports, myself, just having the background of working in athletics for as long as I did, but that's no small feat to be, after, especially after pregnancy, competing at that high of a level. So congrats to you on that. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, like, on your fitness journey. How did you kind of, no, because you were a mother too. So how did you kind of balance, being able to get into the gym as consistently as you did? Because people see you on the stage, but they don't necessarily see the background of, like, what you did to get there. So talk a little bit about how you allocated your time there.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll start briefly by saying my motivation to even start this journey, because, maybe some people they compete and then they have kids and then, that obviously becomes like their number one or they focus on other things. And I'll start out and I'll say that my initial motivation was very selfish, self-centered, and very vain because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to get fat after having a baby. That's where it started. And I'll tell you that over this time, it did progress into more health. Obviously, maintaining a bodybuilding level is not sustainable, but I thought it was a really good goal to have initially to kind of go through that, at least get in the habit of working out and finding that balance and getting into better nutrition overall. So once I really started this process, after I had my child, I had an emergency C-section, and the recovery didn't really go as planned. So instead of like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, it was 12 weeks of recovery. It was a little more than what we would normally see for a C-section. But I had a lot of family support initially for those first couple months. After that, my parents flew home. It's me, my husband, and my daughter. Once I was finally cleared to go into the gym, we had a little gym in our apartment. My daughter's still little. She's like napping in her seat or have her in the stroller. And our apartment gym's really, really small. There's never anybody there. So I would walk across my whole complex with her, roll in at night, and she'd be sleeping and I'd get a workout in and, go check on her here and there. I had her in June, probably closer to November, December is when I decided I was going to compete. And I worked with Coach Nikki Allegro, who I know you're going to be interviewing also. So huge props to
hmm
Nikki for being able to help me come up with a plan for nutrition, weights, and working out, as well as understanding my hormonal balances. And I was also breastfeeding, and it was like a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to give Nikki just a huge shout out for helping me through that. I think having a coach, if you're planning on doing anything athletic, is huge. So I want to thank her a ton.
hmm For sure.
She actually helped me bite the bullet and actually get a real gym membership because she's like, the equipment in here it's not really going to help you. So she was able to see what I was working with and help kind of guide me. So I found a gym, Mountainside Fitness in Scottsdale, that has a daycare in there, which is huge. It's like up to 2 hours a day. It's like an extra $15 on your membership. You can drop her off to take newborns to whenever, And I was like, an extra $15 in a membership, that's the cheapest babysitting I could do. Sometimes, if I was having a really rough day, I would go drop her off just so I can take a hot shower that was uninterrupted. Because sometimes that's all a new mom
hmm
needs, is just a shower. So kind
hmm
of once I got in the rhythm with that, I had my work, I was still working full time. So I get done work at 4 o'clock, drive to the gym, work out for maybe hour and a half, and drop her off, do my workout, go pick her up, go home, make dinner, and, then do, the rest of our night. So we kind of got into a very structured routine with that, because I not only have to work on my schedule, I have to work on her schedule. But I give a huge shout out to my coach, Nikki, for being able to guide me that way, and Mountainside Fitness for having those resources for new moms who want to work out, maybe don't know, where they can go, where they can bring a kid. And I'll tell you, my daughter loves all of the employees there at Mountainside. I trust my children there. Sometimes I've hired them as babysitters outside of the gym because they're just so great. So I really appreciate that I can, drop her off with people I trust while I go try to take care of my health. So after I started that journey, I was really like, you know what? I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel stronger. I'm 4'11". My daughter, she's 2 now. She's like half my size. So for me, I'm like, I need to be strong enough to pick her up, strong enough to play with her. I also have an autoimmune disease where I have a lot of chronic joint pain and everything. So really just focusing on my health on top of the actual training for the competition really helped me stay motivated throughout that process.
Yeah. And I think that's really good for my audience to hear, just because, like, if you've ever been in a position where you have a lot going on, for me, I've spoken about, you mentioned your autoimmune disease. For me, I've spoken about the fact that I have spina bifida, and just for people in those type of situations, you really just have to learn how to think outside of the box. And I think that you've done a really good job of doing that, and that's really what the game is. Like, if you can't find a solution somewhere, you're gonna find it somewhere else. You just got to keep searching and keep chugging away until you find somebody that's a little bit more flexible and will work with you. That does take a lot of time, but I think that that's really important to note for a lot of people that just they don't have the easiest schedule, but you can still allocate time towards things that matter, like fitness. So that's really great. What I think a lot of people can relate to is just, you working full time on top of that as well. So now you got like 3 different things going on, as opposed to, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that don't have all these other things going on. They at least, they have a lot of stuff going on, but it's at least in one space. Like, they're trying to run their business. That's typically what you'll see. But for you to be running around in all these different spaces and succeeding in all these different spaces is something new. So I feel like that's a little bit of a different, that's a different kind of take that we don't see a lot in this, on my podcast. So it's good. It's definitely good to get your perspective there. So I guess my next question for you would be more on the side of are you able to talk about your new projects and things that you have kind of going on right now?
Yeah,
okay. Because I know you mentioned something to me. I don't want to put it out there if you're not, supposed to be talking about it yet. You're also on the kind of, acting and directing side of things as well. So you mentioned a new project that you're working on that I think is really great, and it'll help you grow in that space. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll sort of go rewind, because I think the project before that was really impactful and helped me get this opportunity. So my husband and I, we work a lot in community theater. My husband's an actor. I've been acting, on plays and musicals, stage managing, tech, all of it. He likes the acting. I like, especially in a community theater space in a city, I think it's really important, perspective-wise, to see the front and the back end. Sometimes you see the actors, they don't really appreciate the actual production process and all the blood, sweat, and tears that go on in the back end that allow them to shine on stage. So I like to kind of ping pong between both roles, and it really gives me a sense of how the whole project works, and a real deep appreciation for the administrative side, the production, the artistic side, and what the actors bring to the table. So last year, I had the opportunity to work with Don Bluth from like every millennial's childhood, from like Land Before Time, Anastasia, all that. He has a community theater here in Scottsdale called Don Bluth Front Row Theater, which he started from his living room. And it's now since grown and now has his own theater space. I reached out to the theater when I heard that they were doing Anastasia, and I said, hey, I have some stage managing experience. I know the caliber of the women that were going to audition, and I really wanted to be a part of the project. And I was like, you know what? I have some big goals, but I kind of also know my limits. Or I know I humble myself a little bit. So I was like, you know what, I'm probably not going to be the caliber singer actor that they want, but I'd love to stage manage. So I reached out and they gave me the stage managing gig, and John trusted me through that process.
Congrats.
Thank you. We thought it was going to be his last directing gig. It ended up being a huge success. Like, the entire show had gotten sold out. People had flown in from out of state to come see it. I,
Hmm.
even as a stage manager, got mentioned in the review. Me and my, I have an assistant director who is amazing. In a pinch, we had a lot of emergencies. Live theater can have a lot of emergencies, and he and I tag teamed, and, the audience would never know that there was a problem. So we
Hmm.
got mentioned in the review. Now, for most people in community theater, stage managing and anything related to set changes, which was a big part of what we did, if they're mentioned in a review, it's usually bad. like, oh, the set changes took
Hmm.
forever or whatever. They said it was like really quick. You really kept the momentum of the show. Like, we used to, my teammate Daniel and I used to have like races backstage on how fast we can move set pieces
Hmm.
because it's such a small theater. It was like us as stagehands plus stage managing the cast. So after that had happened, about a few months later, they had selected their season for this current season. And Don had reached out to me, and he's like, I'd like to have you assistant direct Crazy for You. So it's the musical that we're doing for this season. So he's going to be the main director again, and I'm going to be assistant directing, which is completely new for me. And I'll be honest, I've never done it before.
Hmm.
So my mantra for my entire career and theater career is fake it till you make it. If they say can you do something, I say yep, and then I Google it and
Hmm.
I get it done, and then I get the experience under my belt,
Yep.
which I feel like probably a lot of people, I would hope a lot of people can relate to. If I have an opportunity,
Yeah.
I like to take it even if I don't have the most confidence in myself. But then kind of once you do it under pressure and you figure it out, then you do it. And it's been a journey, and it can be really, really hard. But I think at the end of the day, it's really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
Something that Don says, and I know it's like, it's not Broadway or like ASU Gamma, just a lot of like the touring professional Broadway shows. But what I really like about community theater is that you really meet people that you're in your actual you meet people in your community,
Hmm.
and you learn a lot
Yep.
about them. And I love that you have an impact on people directly in your community with the audience. John likes to say that the people that go in never leave the same. Hopefully you give
Hmm.
them a good time and entertain them, and they walk out with a smile on their face or with some new thoughts, but they leave
Hmm.
a whole new person. And I really like that, working in the theater community, that you can really have that kind of impact on somebody. Or, the world's freaking crazy right now, right? So it's really nice to give the people an escape where they can just sit and enjoy and not have to
Hmm.
think about all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think it's a little bit more. I've had couple experiences growing up where my dad used to bring us to plays and community theater type shows, and it's a lot more personalized, which I enjoy. Like, sometimes you get a crowd interaction depending on what the show is that you're doing, things like that. And I think that's an element of it too, is you're able to really interact with the audience. So that's something that I've noticed that's really cool. But I didn't mean to cut you off there. So what were you saying?
Oh, no, it really ties into what you were saying. Because
Okay.
I love that, on like, we're a small theater. It's a small theater in the round. It's maybe 70 seats.
Hmm.
There's entrances all over, and like the cast at the end gets to, the audience gets the opportunity to meet the cast and talk to them.
Right.
And I really like that it's such an intimate space. And we do quite a few shows with audience interactions. I actually went to go see Done to Death, which was one of them. It was like a murder mystery one. And well, the cast knew I was there, so they like changed the name of the guy at the end um,
Hmm.
to like Sammy Summer or something, because I knew I was in the, like, it was fun. And I really enjoy, I don't know, I like how close knit it is. I like how personal it feels. And you're just, because of how small it is, you're like, you feel like you're in the show. You feel like you're submerged and surrounded,
Right.
which I absolutely love.
Right. That's awesome. The fact that you're in kind of performing arts in a sense, it really relates to a lot of people don't understand this either, but any sort of performing arts, music, plays, anything like that, I'm getting people on that do that and kind of intentionally, because my audience is athletics, athletes that want to become entrepreneurs, and they have some sort of career. And I think that the resilience that it takes to be able to stay involved and things like that in an industry that's so cutthroat
Hmm.
relates relates across the board, whether you're talking about athletics or, or any sort of performing arts. So would you be able to talk a little bit about how, resilience has played a role in, or like a story that you had to kind of be resilient and know that you belong? I know you spoke a little bit about fake it till you make it, which everybody does. Um,
Yeah.
but can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think I got one. And I like to say if you're going to be someone who does anything in performing arts or the theater community, I think you really need to have an open mind. And I don't mean like about like the what is it? The content itself, but just an open mind on it's live theater. You got to do what you got to do. The show must go on, right? So,
Hmm.
one story I guess I have is I was stage managing Anastasia, and then the next day during the day, I'm at work. I'm at work all day with my daughter, and then, my husband and I kind of switch. We have babysitters, and then at night, after she goes to sleep, I'm at rehearsal.
Hmm.
So I'm at the middle of my workday. I'm just about to go on lunch, and I get a phone call from Cheryl, who works at the theater, and she goes, "Hey, Sammy." And at the time, my husband was in a show called God's Favorite, which is like a parody show about the book of Job, I think.
Okay.
But so she gives me a call, and she says, "Hey, Sammy, one of our girls is out sick with COVID. I'm wondering if you can fill in for her." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"What?" I was like, "Cheryl, I don't know the show. Like, I helped my husband run lines, but her character doesn't really talk to his character. I don't have a babysitter. Like, I don't."
Hmm.
And there was a show that night. She's like, "Well, we'll cancel tonight." She's like, "If I can give you the script, you can, I know you can run lines and kind of learn lines really fast. And then we can go back on tomorrow on Thursday night." And I sat for a minute, and I'm like, "Give me a minute." So I called one of my on-call sitters, if you will, and she was available for the rest of the week. And I was like, "Cool." So I called Cheryl back, and I was like, "Hey, Cheryl, let's not cancel tonight. Let's go on tonight." Because in my head, I'm like, it might be hard for me to try to figure it out or to put on an actual performance that people are paying to see. But I'm also on the other end, I'm like, okay, well, are we going to cancel 70 people's nights out that have paid, that, there's a lot of tickets sold out. They're not going to be able to reschedule. Like, I don't want to ruin their nights. I don't want it to snowball into a million different things. So I was like, I just got to my lunch break. I'll go to the theater. I'll try in her costumes. I'll grab the script. I'll highlight the lines. She's like, "You can even use the script on stage. We can pretend it's a prop." I lucked out that, like myself, my character was a fraternal twin. So I kind of clung to my fraternal twin brother. I had a
Hmm.
glass of liquid courage. I had a glass of wine before we went on because I was pretty nervous. And my first time reading the script was on stage during the performance. I had about 30 minutes to kind of run through the blocking, which is sort of like entrances, exits, where you move around the stage, and just kind of wung it. And the really cool thing was the rest of the cast was a little nervous about how it was going to go. Like, she doesn't know the show. Like, they were prepped to really improvise and just kind of trudge the show along. But they were impressed that I was able to kind of get through it. It didn't look like I was sitting there, with the book like this, reading it. I kind of had it to my side. I crossed out the title of the play and wrote my diary on it to
Hmm.
pretend it was like a prop. And, the audience knew I was a fill in, but it surprisingly got a lot of good feedback considering. And this poor
Hmm.
girl, she was out the rest of the week. So I ended up doing 5 performances for a show I had no idea. Like, I had seen it once prior, but I wasn't super familiar with the script itself. So for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, show must go on. If you're thinking about canceling a show, I will do my best to make sure that's not the case. So,
Yeah. And that speaks a lot to, that's another great takeaway for the audience of like just nobody talks about that side of like the grit and the grind that it takes to be successful in that, in that specific field.
mhm.
Everybody wants to pretend like they have nice cars. They want to pretend like they just put on one of the biggest shows there is, and that's what you see on social media, but they don't put out what it takes to get there. So I want to make that very clear for my audience, especially the younger audience that is looking to do something along those lines of whether it's athletics or performing or I have a lot of people in my network that went and became musicians, but they don't talk about that side of things. So that I'm glad that you're able to shed some light on that.
Yeah, of course.
A little bit on the other side of things. This is the Monday Motion. There is a motivational element
Hmm.
to this podcast to kind of uplift a little bit. So is there anything that speaks to you, whether it's a book quote or just kind of a mentality piece that you've lived by to succeed in everything that you do? Anything like that that comes off the top of your head?
Yeah, I got two. So the first
Okay.
one I'll say that I live by is that show must go on, for sure.
Okay.
As far as a motivational piece, like if you have a goal in general, I don't care if it's a fitness goal, a little personal goal or a professional goal. And I heard this from, I believe her name is Claire Morrow. She's an IFBB pro. I follow her. I love her content. And she posted something one day that really hit me. And it's like, don't worry about how long it's going to take because the time's going to pass anyway. So, like, I could
Hmm.
take, X amount of time just scrolling through my phone or procrastinating and doing XYZ, or I could use that time to do something productive. And I think that's kind of where I get the mentality of like balancing my full-time job at the marketing company I'm at, being a full-time mom at home, juggling all that, and then, working in the theater on my nights and weekends for whatever projects that I sign up for. Plus, I'm on the board of directors for another theater, which is a whole other thing. Um, I'm going to call myself Miscellaneous for now on because I
You,
have no niche. And that's not including
yeah.
my freelance art stuff I do, again, on the side. I got too
Hmm.
many, I'm a jack of all trades.
Hey.
So, but just knowing that the time's going to pass no matter what. So you might as well do your best with the time you got. And you don't have to overwork
Hmm.
yourself or kill yourself. But if you have a goal, I think it's just really nice to keep in the back of the mind, like, okay, well, where do you see yourself in 6 months? Or, or you can start it in 6 months, but what could you have done in that 6 months leading
Right.
up to it, that could have really moved you ahead. So I think that can really apply to any goal or anything that you want to see for yourself in the future. And if
Hmm.
there's a goal that you have, I don't care what it is. I never thought in my life that I would even meet Don Bluth, let alone work with him. So,
Yeah.
I shot I shooted my shot. I saw that he was
Hmm.
directing a show. I was like, I'm going to be a part of this somehow. I don't care if I
Hmm.
sneak in or whatever. And they're actually really open. They're a really nice theater. And
Yep.
my husband had worked on other smaller shows there. And I'd stage managed something else there before, but I'd never met him. And I'm like, can I do this? And they're like, yeah, why not? You're just going to ask. If you don't ask, you never know. So what's the worst you're going to
You
get?
never know.
Yeah,
Right.
you learn a lot of rejection in theater, and you never know unless you go for it. So,
Hmm.
so if there's an
Yeah.
opportunity, 1,000%, I recommend you go for it.
Yeah. I, all my friends and myself, I'm sure all of you guys know about The Land Before Time. I grew up watching it myself, so that's awesome. But I, uh, I will say that one thing that I attempt to do every month, this is something that I came up with. I try to take one home run, attempt one home run. So whatever that is I reach out to, like, I found, like, I would searched up notable alumni at Merrimack College where I went to school, and I found out Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia went
It's
there.
awesome.
He was he was the last home run that I took. I DM'd him. I'm like, please please join my show. Like, I'm still actively pursuing that one. There's a couple other people in the back of in my back pocket that I've been speaking to, and I don't want to talk too much about it. But that's something that I actively try to do, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Is like sometimes you take those home runs and they work out, and it really just comes down to being in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
If you're in the right place in the right time for that person, you never know who's gonna help you out or who you're gonna end up working with. So that's huge.
Yeah.
That's really huge. So you said you had another one other thing. So you mentioned the show must go on. You said that you had one more
Oh yeah,
there for us.
that one was don't worry about how much time it's going to take because the time's going to pass
Okay.
anyway. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so don't worry about how much time it takes. I like that because it really I spoke about this in my last episode as well, is like I know people that are in their 40s that have been chasing entrepreneurship for their entire life, and they're at different stages. Some of them are successful in one specific thing, and some of them switch what their thing is every couple of months. But it really just comes down to, in due time,
Yeah.
you'll find what works for you.
Hmm.
That's really great. Is there anything else that you'd like to add off the top of your head before we hop off
Yeah,
here?
I'll add one more thing. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how many people in your demographic are going to be someone in my boat that's more of a busy mom situation, or just anyone in general.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple I can think of that I've been talking to
Yeah.
that can definitely relate to this one.
So, growing up, I've seen like, my friends have kids or other people, and in general, I feel like the consensus is I've lost all my friends once I've had kids. Nobody's reached out to me. Nobody's done anything. And I've even caught myself as a new mom being like, I should have reached out to those people more. But on the
Mm-hmm.
other side of that, I do think there's some responsibility on said mom, because I feel like some friends, they're like, well, I don't want to intrude, I don't want to bother, because I've definitely reached out to some friends that have just had a baby, like, how can I support, how can I do stuff, and then I never hear back because obviously they're busy with a
Mm-hmm.
kid. If you're a new mom, or just anyone, I don't even care if you're a new mom, but just specifically for that situation, ask for the help. Ask for the help. There's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of people that'll help you out. Like I've heard people be like, hey, you know, I'm kind of low on money, so I'm sending money for diapers, I'm sending money for whatever. Like, I want to help another fellow mom for sure. And I know, especially in my early days, because I don't live near family, you know that. Like, I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
visit right now. So, I wasn't afraid to ask for help from my village. I made my village. I had some were immediate family, some were really close friends that I didn't even think were going to be. They were there.
Right.
If you don't ask for that help, you're not going to know. And again, just like, what's the worst they're going to say? No,
Right.
And these people have come. Some of my closest friends have now. We consider them family, and it's not just take. Like, we return the favor with them all the time, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really important that don't let yourself drown. Just really ask for the help. And like, even in a professional
Right.
setting, if you know someone that's got more resources than you, ask them for resources. 9 times out of 10, they're happy to help and provide that
Mm-hmm.
information for you. So yeah, just
Right.
shoot your shot whenever you got it. And if you know there's resources out there, or just shoot it out in the dark again. If you need it,
Mm-hmm.
ask for the help. It's been
Yeah.
a game changer. Instead of feeling so proud that you're going to do it all
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and then you struggle, and then there's all sorts of crap that kind of spirals and goes out of the way with that. But just,
Yeah.
it's so important.
That is really important, because that's another thing that you see on social media is self-made millionaire and all this other crap
Mhm.
that's not true. If I guarantee you, if you show me somebody that claims they're a self-made millionaire, I can track down the line somewhere of where they've received some sort of help.
Yeah.
And that's the message that I try to get across here,
Hmm.
as much as I possibly can. Is like, it's not a bad thing to ask for help, especially from your network and people that you trust.
Of course.
So I totally agree there. Before we kind of wrap it up here, are you still? I wanted to clarify this. You're a brand ambassador with the Fit Traveler, right?
Absolutely.
Still?
Yep.
Okay, so that makes the two of us. I just wanted to throw a quick shout out over there.
Yeah.
Support the brand. It
Yeah.
helps both of us.
Yeah. Shout out to the Fit
Um,
Traveler Collection. Shout
yeah.
out to Nikki, my coach
Hmm.
and founder and CEO of TFT. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I definitely love, being a part. I've only worked one event so far. I'm looking to work a couple more and just continue to support the brand and everything in every way that I can. But I met a few of them one time, and they're already like just a really good support group to have. So I wanted to go ahead and shout them out as well. So shout out to the Fit Traveler, and go and support the brand. I'll make sure to leave a link to it in this video when I drop it. But yeah, that's kind of all the questions that I have for you. I know that you're like I said, a very resilient person. You kind of dip your foot into a bunch of different areas, and you're able to balance them all. So I guess that's kind of the theme here. Just, if you're one of those people that has 1,000 different things going on, the theme is, kind of ask for help when you need it,
Mm-hmm.
and then, don't be afraid to use your network, but also think outside of the box. And and I'm glad I had you on here to talk about all that. So this has been really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to getting this episode out. So
Of course.
thanks. All right. Bye.